On the day we moved into our new place, my husband insisted his ex-girlfriend and Sophie move in with us. Chloe is such a poor thing. She's never lived in such a nice house. Just be generous and forgiving. And don't worry, they'll pay for their meals. After confirming he wasn't joking, I immediately started a live stream. The title was, Benevolent Rescues Girlfriend and Sophie. Then me to be and forgiving, Grace. Why are you so ungenerous and forgiving? Chloe is all alone with Sophie. How inconvenient is that? Sophie is grown up and doesn't even have a place to live. It wouldn't hurt to give them one of our many empty rooms. The person speaking was my husband, Marcus, his one that got away. Chloe had just divorced last month and called my husband tearfully with Sophie. Marcus, I left with nothing in the divorce. Can you help me? Just for that phone call, my husband drove them both to a hotel at 2 a.m. The next morning, he took a day off from the company and, with a strong sense of duty, rented a place for them and transferred 20,000 yuan for living expenses. I watched as nearly 30,000 yuan was deducted from our joint account. I called him and heard Chloe's timidly voice. Grace, I didn't know Marcus hadn't talked to you. It's just that Sophie and I are in such a difficult situation. That's why I thought of Marcus. Please don't fight because of me. I didn't say anything, simply hung up the phone and drove to the scene. I cornered Marcus, who was cooking for Sophie and her mother. Marcus, upon seeing me, guiltily rubbed his nose, then, on the verge of tears, began her performance. Grace, it's all my fault. Marcus was cooking just now, so I answered the phone. It really wasn't Marcus's idea. Does not have a mouth? What do you mean, Grace? Chloe was stunned for a moment. I didn't care. I just asked directly. You've been speaking for him this whole time. I thought he was mute. At this point, Marcus could no longer stand it. Grace, what do you mean by that? Chloe is talking to you out of kindness. Why are you being so sarcastic and passive-aggressive? They're a helpless single mother and child. What's wrong with me helping them out? We have all this history together. After saying this defiantly, he seemed to remember something and lowered his head guiltily. Marcus, when Sophie was sick, and I couldn't get a taxi in the heavy rain and asked you to pick us up, you refused and told me to figure it out myself. In the end, I called the police, and police officers took us to the hospital. Do you remember? Are we not a helpless single mother and child? And I have you to rely on? Marcus remained silent. Clearly, he remembered what had happened back then. After that incident, I wanted to divorce him. He knelt on the ground, begged on his knees, and slapped himself repeatedly. Later, my parents couldn't stand it anymore. After this, Marcus surely won't make the same mistake again. If anything were to happen to Sophie, he probably wouldn't feel good about it either. Out of respect for both our parents, we didn't continue to make a fuss. Marcus also slowly started coming home earlier and was always at my beck and call whenever I called him. I thought he had changed for the better. Now it seemed as devoting every moment was not for me. Chloe watched me scold Marcus, clearly displeased. I saw her roll her eyes at me, yet she maintained a delicate appearance. It was truly disgusting. She opened her mouth, speaking manipulatively sweet. Grace, this isn't Marcus's fault. I had no money back then, so I turned to Marcus for help, and as for the money you spent, I'll definitely pay it back. What are you talking about, Chloe? Grace isn't someone who nitpicks. Just use the money for now. It's not like we're short on it. Of course, my husband is right, but even close family needs clear accounts. I can let you use this money in an emergency, but you need to write me an IOU. Grace, what are you doing? Are you trying to force them? Marcus flew into a rage. Why are you so agitated? Didn't Chloe just say she'd pay it back? It's perfectly normal to write an IOU when borrowing money. How is that forcing them? You're being very unreasonable, Marcus. If there's no IOU, and someone later says she's scrounging for money, then no one will be able to prove otherwise. That's what would truly harm her reputation. Marcus thought for a moment, then said to Chloe, Chloe, Grace is right. Your reputation is more important. What if your ex-in-laws use this against you? But don't worry. The IOU is just a formality. We won't pressure you to pay it back. Just stay here with Sophie. All right then. Thank you. Marcus and Grace. Chloe bit her lip but still wrote the IOU. This was why I had personally gone there. Marcus was unclear on boundaries. He hadn't intended to ask for the 30,000 yuan back, but it was our joint marital property, and there was no way I would let him just give it to another woman. On the way back, he complained to me. If you wanted an IOU, you could have just told me. Coming over so aggressively, Chloe must be afraid of causing us trouble, Marcus. I want you to remember, you are a married man. When you deal with a divorced woman, it's never more convenient than when I step in." He froze for a moment, then stopped complaining. But after that incident, I started paying close attention to Marcus and Chloe, because I couldn't understand under what circumstances a woman would be penniless and driven out of her home. And from that day on, it was as if Marcus had opened a floodgate. He even arranged for Chloe's Sophie to be in my Sophie's class. Sophie came home and told me, "Mom, Zoe said she was Daddy's daughter." She was utterly distraught. That night, Marcus and I argued again. "Marcus, do you even know whose daddy you are? Sophie is upset in class because of you." "Grace, I don't understand how this could upset Sophie. Chloe is a helpless single mother and child. And she was afraid of being bullied when she registered at school because she couldn't list that man as the father. I was just temporarily stepping in, and you're treating it like an interrogation. Grace, Sophie will be corrupted by you eventually after accusing us." He stormed out. Soon after, I saw Chloe's social media update. Sophie said she likes Robaboo. "Marcus is so thoughtful. He drove it over so late." After posting that, she added a comment below, "Life's choices are truly important. If I had known back then, perhaps we would all have had different outcomes." A little while later, I saw Marcus like that post. I laughed in anger. I called Marcus, but the call was forwarded. He had prepared for this. Marcus gave me the silent treatment for 3 weeks. During this time, he was constantly appearing on Chloe's social media. He looked every bit the good man, but he was showering another woman with concern and care. In the middle of it, he sent me a very provocative message. "Grace, this is a lesson for you. Reflect carefully, so you don't keep speculating about our relationship and annoying everyone." I didn't reply to him. 3 weeks later, it was the day we were preparing to move into our new place. Marcus came back. He bought a cake, and even a bouquet of red roses, looking very romantic. If he hadn't been giving me the silent treatment, perhaps I would have spent a romantic evening with him. But it was clearly inappropriate at the moment. When someone's overly sweet for no reason, there's always an ulterior motive. "Grace, we're moving to our new place soon, and it's in a good school district. We have so many rooms. I want Chloe and Sophie to move in together. It would be more convenient, and it would stop you from overthinking and imagining things between us." He spoke with righteous indignation, even claiming it was for my own good. Provoked to this extent, I truly laughed in anger. "Marcus, if you really want this family to continue, you wouldn't say such disgusting things. You've become so shameless for Chloe that you've stooped to this level. Are you now fighting over Sophie's resources too? I'm telling you, don't even think about it." Marcus's face darkened at my words, and he repeated his usual line. "Grace, how did you become like this? I'm just helping out Chloe and Zoe, and you're throwing a tantrum again. I thought this long time would have made you reflect, but it seems you still haven't learned your lesson. Don't worry, Chloe won't live here for free. Chloe and Zoe will pay for their meals. I bet you're secretly subsidizing those meal costs, aren't you?" I didn't spare Marcus's feelings and exposed him directly. I had known about Marcus's secret stash of money for a long time. I always thought it was fine for a man to have a personal fund. After all, he needed his reputation when out and about, and it wouldn't look good to be penniless. After I forced him to write an IOU last time, Marcus didn't dare to use money from our joint account to support Chloe again. Withdrawals from his secret stash of money became frequent. When we were dating, to give me a sense of security, he linked an account to mine. It was actually a secret stash of money. Because I had never spent any of that money, he forgot about it. It included a necklace worth over 20,000 yuan. When I went to inquire about it with the deduction information, the person called me Ms. Chloe. I recorded all of this. I'm not the kind of person who doesn't prepare. Marcus's face turned red at my words, but he still argued with me. "Chloe has already found a job and will soon be able to pay for her meals. You're also a woman. How can you have no sympathy at all? How have you become this way? You disappoint me so much. She's divorced, not disabled. If I were divorced, I certainly wouldn't rely on other men for a living like her. But as things stand, I'm not much better off than being divorced." During the argument, Sophie came out of the room. She stared at Marcus for a moment, then burst into tears. So was telling the truth. She said she wasn't just going to take my daddy, but also live in our house. She's going to take everything from me. "Mom, I don't want them to live here." Sophie's words made my heart ache deeply, but Marcus's expression changed dramatically. "Grace, look at how you've taught Sophie. She's so young and already lying. Zoe is so well behaved. How could she say something like that? You must have lied because you don't want Chloe and Zoe to move in. You've disappointed Daddy too much. The louder he spoke, the more he scared Sophie, who hid behind me. I looked at the out-of-control Marcus and sneered. People only yell loudly when they're enraged and ashamed. Marcus, if you're not guilty, why won't you believe your own Sophie? Do you truly have no other feelings for Chloe? Grace, if you spread any more rumors, I'll divorce you. Then no one will get to live in this house. Marcus threatened loudly, and my face darkened. Then let's see. Marcus, you know exactly what schemes you're cooking up. Chloe's little tricks, constantly posting on social media to show off. Her social media posts alone are enough important material for me to file a lawsuit regarding your relationship. And your company is currently having elections, aren't they? If this kind of material appears at your company, I don't believe your leaders won't take it seriously. Either you behave yourself, or you'll leave with nothing in the divorce. Marcus's face turned pale at my words. He seemed to have realized something. He quickly softened his tone. Wife, don't be like this. This was just a suggestion. If you don't like it, they can stay somewhere else for now, but you have to believe that my love for you and Sophie is absolute. I didn't say anything. I thought that if he stopped here, I would give him a chance to reform, but I clearly noticed Sophie becoming increasingly quiet recently, sometimes even crying softly under her blanket. When I went into her room, she would quickly wipe away her tears. I was certain Sophie was troubled. Finally, when she cried again, I pushed the door open and entered. That's when I saw the bruises on Sophie's body, and I immediately erupted in anger. Who did this? She stammered for a long time, finally telling the truth. Zoe said you were a mistress, and that I was a mistress's Sophie. The other students all ganged up to isolate me. I said he was my daddy, but Daddy signed for Zoe. So no one believed me, Mom. Isn't he my daddy? Looking at Sophie's helpless face, my hatred for Marcus grew even stronger. The next day, I went with Sophie to school and saw Marcus getting out of the car with Chloe and Zoe. Zoe even affectionately hugged Marcus and kissed him. Daddy, goodbye. They looked exactly like a family of three. I clapped my hands directly. What a loving family. Marcus froze at my voice, looked at me, and blurted out, Wife, what are you doing here? Don't you usually take a taxi to bring Sophie to school? Yes. Precisely because I usually take a taxi to bring Sophie to school, while my husband drives someone else's Sophie around. That's why she's spreading rumors that my Sophie is a mistress's Sophie. Zoe, what do you think? After hearing my question, Zoe desperately clutched Marcus's clothes. Looking timidly and fragile, just like her mother, Mommy said he's my daddy. It's your Sophie who always tries to steal my daddy. Mommy said your mommy is the home wrecker. So you're the mistress's Sophie, and you deserve to be yelled at. As soon as she spoke, everyone present's face changed. I forced a smile, looking at Marcus and asking him, Oh, is that so? Marcus's face stiffened. Wife, children's words are innocent. Zoe just made a mistake temporarily. She definitely didn't mean to target our Sophie. Marcus, which Sophie is yours? With that, I took out our marriage certificate and shoved it in front of them, saying, This is Marcus's and my marriage certificate. I'm not a mistress, and my Sophie isn't a mistress's Sophie. As for Chloe, on the day she left with nothing in the divorce from her husband, she called my husband in the middle of the night for help. He found her a place, paid her rent, and even found a school for her Sophie. Initially, placing her in my Sophie's class was supposed to be for better study, but it turned out to be a pretense for taking over. And this is Chloe's IOU then. I walked over to Sophie's homeroom teacher and continued. Mai told me she'd reported this isolation to you, and yet you led the charge in making disparaging remarks about her. I believe that as a teacher, you shouldn't be abetting bullying instead of finding the truth. This indeed requires an investigation. So before coming here today, I already sent the materials to the education department leaders. As for my Sophie, she was injured at your school. Her arms are covered in bruises. I had her injuries examined last night and called the police, reporting it as intentional assault. I believe some people will be held accountable very soon. You are all old enough to know right from wrong. If you can't, then someone will step in to manage you. I've already arranged for my Sophie to take a leave of absence from school. You don't need to think you can manipulate my Sophie to threaten me. After I finished speaking cleanly and decisively, Marcus immediately rushed to my side. Why didn't you tell me when you were doing all this? I'm Sophie's father too. Do you know how much this affects me? You should worry more about your Chloe. I think she's about to faint. I sneered. Chloe let out a whimper. Marcus, I think my blood sugar is low. Can you come check on me? Marcus, Zoe is my Sophie. I know her best. She's so delicate. She would never do anything to isolate others. She must have been led astray by someone else. I know. Just don't talk for a moment. Marcus quickly comforted her, as if she were about to die any second. But while Marcus bought Chloe's words, others didn't. The few parents whose children had ganged up to isolate my Sophie immediately jumped out. What do you mean by that? If your Sophie hadn't kept saying Sophie was the mistress's Sophie, would my children have isolated her? Now you want to deny it? Exactly. When the police officers arrive, we'll tell the truth. We were deceived, and ignorance is no crime. Yeah. A child from a family with such a bad reputation like yours is clearly not decent. He already has a wife and Sophie, yet she's acting so manipulatively sweet. If the adults are like this, how can the children turn out well? Zoe, crying and shaking her head, interjected. What are you all saying? You were the ones who said you didn't like her. You were the ones who cornered her in the restroom. I never once laid a hand on her. How can you blame me? As her words fell, the other students' parents couldn't tolerate it. I've never seen anything like it. No wonder Sophie was upset, looking at her deceptive behavior. Isn't she just like her mother? Wife, I'm also very upset that Sophie got hurt, but if you accuse Zoe like this, what will happen to her? Marcus's words immediately excused Zoe. While Sophie continued to hide behind me, I squeezed Sophie's hand. Marcus, save your words for the police officers. Oh, and by the way, to make Zoe realize who her real father is, I've already informed Chloe's ex-husband, and he's on his way. Grace, how can you be so vicious? You know Chloe was a victim of domestic abuse, and you're bringing her ex-husband here? Do you just want to make everyone lose face? Cancel the police report right now. He furiously lunged at me and slapped me. Sophie burst into tears. Don't hit mommy. Daddy, don't hit mommy. He pushed Sophie away. If your mother hadn't failed to raise you properly, would you be falsely accusing your classmates? His words didn't clear Zoe's name. Instead, they made the other parents on the side whisper amongst themselves. What kind of husband? What kind of father is that? He's hitting his own Sophie and wife for an outsider mother and Sophie. I bet their relationship is far from ordinary. What kind of ordinary relationship has someone finding a place for them in the middle of the night and acting as their Sophie's daddy? Exactly. Always talking about a helpless single mother and child. If my husband were that disloyal, I'd sue him out of his pants. Marcus finally realized something. He stiffly said to me, Wife, I didn't mean to hit you. It's because you kept targeting Chloe and Zoe that I acted this way. I didn't mean it. Enough with the useless talk. Marcus, we're getting a divorce. I was terrifyingly calm, but my hand, gripping Sophie's, was trembling. In this tense atmosphere, the police officers also arrived at the school. The process was smooth. We were all taken in for questioning. After I presented the relevant evidence, along with the testimonies from other students, it was confirmed that Zoe had indeed led the isolation and harm against my Sophie. Since they were all over 14 years old, many people would be held responsible. Chloe suddenly fell to her knees. Please, Grace, it's all my fault. But Zoe is still a child. Even if you have an issue with me, please give her a way out. If she gets detained, her future will be ruined. With that, she looked at the other parents, who were now united in anger, facing me. They thought there was strength in numbers, because if intentional assault was established, no one would escape. They talked about compensation but ultimately started to defend themselves. We were deceived by Zoe, but Sophie could have spoken up for herself. She didn't explain anything. And ignorance is no crime. Exactly. She's a classmate. Why make it so difficult for the children? It was just an accident. Isn't your Sophie okay? You're a mother, and we're parents too. Are you not going to give any of them a chance? They all spoke at once, and I almost laughed in anger. What? When your children were bullying my Sophie, did you ever consider how upset she was? It wasn't just once. If I hadn't found out, who knows how many times it happened. Now that it's happening to you, you feel the pain. I'm telling you. I do not agree to a settlement. As my words fell, Chloe fainted on the spot. Zoe, however, was filial. Seeing faint, she lunged at me. I'll fight you, you bitch. If it weren't for you, my mom and uncle would have been together a long time ago, and your big house would be mine. She didn't hit me and was restrained by the police officers. The group of people looked at the child using foul language and then at me. If you don't agree to issue a letter of understanding, then detention might be necessary here. Chloe woke up at the opportune moment, crying to Marcus. Marcus, please, talk to Grace for me. Ask her to let us go. Please? I'll work my fingers to the bone to repay you both. You know I only have this one Sophie. Grace isn't giving me a way out. Otherwise, I'll just die. She collapsed plaintively into Marcus's arms, deeply worried about her. He spoke to me with difficulty. Wife, could you? No. Marcus, every word you say right now disgusts me. I flatly refused. He closed his eyes, as if in great pain, then said to the police officers, I am Sophie's parent. I can issue a letter of understanding. Marcus, how dare you? I looked at the man before me, feeling an even greater helpless resentment. At this moment, Sophie and I were alone and defenseless. The other parents, hearing him relent, took advantage and gloated. It should have been this way all along. It was just children playing around. Why make such a big deal out of it? Exactly. It wasn't intentional. Sophie's mother, you're too sensitive, with your Sophie being so unsociable. Who would want to play with her in the future? Marcus looked at me, as if I were truly in the wrong. You're too sensitive. Children always have bumps and scrapes. If this escalates further, it will become a serious incident. They're just children. How could they do anything so excessive? Grace, I know my relationship with Chloe has left you with a grudge, but I truly haven't betrayed you. I promise you, after this, I won't interfere with Chloe and Zoe anymore. To give you some time to calm down, once you've calmed down, you'll realize that today's incident didn't need to be so ugly. His earnestly pleading manner truly made me laugh in anger. How could a person be so shameless? I really wanted to rip his head open and see if he had even an ounce of concern for Sophie. Chloe also started speaking conciliatory words. Grace, I was truly helpless, which is why I sought out Marcus, but we really didn't have any ulterior motives, and we didn't do anything inappropriate. I know you're concerned about what I posted on social media. Actually, those were all meant to provoke you. Because Marcus was very angry that you kept suspecting our relationship, so I deliberately posted those to annoy you. I apologize, but we really haven't wronged you. The onlookers also chimed in, trying to mediate. It was all a misunderstanding, which led to a misunderstanding between the children of both families, didn't it? It's almost become a serious incident, nearly made a grave mistake. Let's all just get along from now on. The teacher also got dragged into this. If the education department investigates, it won't be good for anyone, right? I heard this teacher is very responsible. What if someone else teaches them badly? They went back and forth, talking, and eventually, I became the instigator, and they were all innocent parents. And our conflict stemmed from my jealousy of Chloe and Marcus's relationship. Everything had gone completely off track. After signing the letter of understanding, he kept following us closely, as if he genuinely regretted his actions. Sophie wouldn't even say a word to him. He caught up to us, his voice dry. Wife, I know you can't accept this, but if Zoe goes to detention, her life will be over. I turned around and said to Marcus, word for word, Marcus, starting today, you are a failed father. You've shown Sophie that you are not a safe haven for her. I saw his body visibly stiffen, but I didn't care about that. I needed to prepare for my divorce from Marcus as soon as possible. I installed many security cameras in the house. By my intuition, Chloe would definitely not give up on marrying Marcus. After all these preparations, I took Sophie back to my parents' house. After I told my parents everything, they hugged Sophie, their eyes welling up with tears. We thought he was a good man back then, which is why we let you be with him. Now, he's such a scoundrel. We truly misjudged him. This isn't the time to talk about that. I must get a divorce, and I need to get back the compensation I'm owed. You're right. Sophie became withdrawn because of these events. I started making arrangements for her transfer to a new school. Coincidentally, I had a project in Maplewood that I had been hesitant about taking, as my husband and Sophie were here now. It was the perfect opportunity to go and get away from Marcus. During this time, I contacted Chloe's ex-husband. The moment I saw him, tall and imposing, I couldn't connect him with domestic abuse. After hearing my account, he sneered dismissively. He said she cheated on him, and the child wasn't even his. So of course he made her leave with nothing in the divorce. Thus, with his help, I successfully obtained proof of Chloe's infidelity. The security cameras at home sent me timely alerts, and I saw a familiar face, Chloe. During the time Marcus and I were discussing divorce, he sent me long text messages every night, tearfully begging for my forgiveness. Grace is in a mood and won't be back for a while. She's soft-hearted. If I coax her, she'll come back. You two can stay here at ease. It's close to a good school district and convenient. Zoe, next time you can't say things like that to Sophie. She is my Sophie, and your aunt is my wife. That's a fact that can't be changed. Your mom can't become my wife. He told Zoe this seriously. It seemed he wasn't unaware of Zoe's problematic behavior. This was a warning to Chloe. It's fine for you to live here temporarily, but you need to be polite to Grace in the future. She's the lady of the house. Chloe was clearly displeased but suppressed her anger and agreed. I watched and smiled. Marcus had it all figured out. He wanted both. I decided to give them a push. I immediately started a live stream, titled Devoted Valiantly His That Away. Their scheming, captured by the security cameras, was live streamed to everyone, quickly making it to the trending topics. The incident where Zoe led the isolation of my Sophie was also exposed. Suddenly, a trending comment appeared. The one that got away, Sophie looks a lot like your husband. Could she be your husband, Sophie? I was stunned. I suddenly remembered Chloe's husband saying that Chloe's Sophie wasn't his. Taking advantage of them being out at work during the day, I successfully obtained hair samples from Marcus and Zoe. That afternoon, I got the results I wanted. I handed over all the evidence to his company. And at the same time, I filed for divorce. During this period, Chloe's ex-husband posted a video titled Heard I'm a Domestic. He provided a clear chain of evidence, including Chloe's infidelity and proof that the child was not his, also explaining why Chloe left with nothing in the divorce. And I, as the victim, announced that this child was my husband's. This caused an uproar. The two of them became targets of public condemnation. The one that got away. That's just a shameless excuse. Absolutely shameless. Marcus was fired from the company due to his misconduct, and our divorce became effective. As the party at fault, Marcus practically left with nothing in the divorce. The house became mine. Chloe didn't want to leave, so I directly found a real estate agent and sold the house. I heard they were unceremoniously evicted, a truly pitiful sight to behold. I took Sophie to Maplewood and truly started a new life. Sophie gradually adapted to her new class. One day, she told me she had made new friends, and I cried tears of joy. She finally came back. In my spare time, I also heard about Marcus and Chloe. The two of them shamelessly got together, but without money. Everything became a problem, and there was no more tender affection. Chloe couldn't stand it, fled with the money, leaving Zoe and Marcus behind. Zoe demanded money from Marcus every day, so Marcus had to go to a construction site to do manual labor. He accidentally broke his leg when something fell on it. He received 30,000 yuan in compensation, which Zoe discovered. She took the compensation and went to find Chloe, leaving Marcus's leg untreated due to lack of money, eventually leading to a permanent disability. After he recovered, he found Chloe and Zoe like a madman. He bought an old beat-up car and ran them both over, leaving them in a vegetative state. Marcus was also sent to prison. I chuckled and moved on. Everything was merely Marcus's own doing. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any thoughts about this story, feel free to share them in the comment section.